Hi, I did my action and inquiry project on what teachers, parents, and students view an ideal school to be. So I originally got my idea from Nieto's book. At the beginning of the semester, we had to answer the question, what is the purpose of school and what does an ideal school look like? And I found that as I was answering it, it caused me to really reflect on what I view as an ideal school to be, and so I was curious to see what parents, staff, and students would say. So the purpose of this was to encourage parents, staff, and students to reflect on what their ideal school would be and to discover what their ideas are. I also wanted to observe if there were any differences between ELL and non-ELL families' ideas of an ideal school, and then use the information to see where GES can support families better. So there were two steps to this project. The first step was with the students. So I asked them the question, what do you think an ideal school is? So we had to talk about what ideal means. And then we brainstormed a few ideas. So we came up with ideas about what the playground might look like, what recess looks like, what your schedule might look like. What do you like in the classroom? What do you not like in the classroom? Is there anything that you would want in there? We covered all different areas of school and what they experience in their normal day. And then they listed the 10 top things that would make up an ideal school. I then used those 10 top things to make a Wordle to show what was most important for students. So Wordle is an online program where you type in words, and the more that word occurs, in the end it creates a poster. And the more that word occurs, the bigger the word on the poster is. And I have an example of that poster later on in the presentation. So then the second part of my experiment was working with the parents and staff. So I created a survey in English and Spanish. I gave them 2 weeks to answer it, either online from a link I sent to all the parents and staff by email, or they could fill it out by hand. So I printed off copies for everybody. And they could fill it out by hand and bring it back into me. Then I also made a Wordle to show what was most important for parents and staff, which I will also show that to you later on in the presentation. So for the parents and staff, I sent them 128 copies of the survey. A total of 38 people participated, so that was 30% of the student population. 20 participated online, and then 18 participated by hand. And then I used the Chromebooks to type in their answers so I could get the graphs on SurveyMonkey. Out of the 38 participants, 5 of them were ELL families. So overall, I would have liked to have seen a higher percentage of families be involved, and definitely a higher percentage of ELL families involved. But as this was one of the first surveys we sent out, I wasn't too disappointed. So the first question was, what is your age? The majority of people that answered were between the ages 25 and 44. So that just kind of gave me an idea of who was writing the answers. The second question was, what type of school did you attend? So I was curious to see if the type of school had any implications for what people's answers of an ideal school would be. And obviously it was mostly public, only one charter and one private, so that's not really enough data for me to make any assumptions or draw any conclusions based on that. Question number 3 was, in what city or cities and state or country did you attend school in? Please include all schools. So it was, they did list out all of the different schools they went to, and you can see that the data is more than 38. That's because I counted all of the different places they went to school. I was curious to see if there was a difference in opinions from people who went to school in different states or countries compared to Colorado, and there really weren't any. So, question number 4 was, how many years have you had students at Gailton Elementary? This includes from the time of your first student to your current one. For example, if you have a student who attended GES who is now in 8th grade and you have a kindergartner, your answer would be 9 years. Your first student started 9 years ago. So these were interesting results because, as you can see, I had more answers for some of our newer families. Again, I don't have enough data to really draw too many conclusions, but I'm wondering if maybe it's because the students are younger, the parents might have more invested in Gailton, so they were a little more willing to fill out the survey because they knew that their kids were going to be at Gailton longer than some of the others. Questions 5 and 6 were both open-ended. Question 5 was, what in your opinion is the purpose of school? And that one I wanted them to give me at least 3 different points. And then for question number 6, they just described their ideal school, including family involvement, specials, homework load, parent-teacher relationships, student-teacher relationships, and anything else that they thought was important for an ideal school. So I studied and analyzed these open-ended questions multiple times. So I had a pretty good, by the time I started to draw my conclusions, I had a pretty good idea of what the parents at Gailton Elementary School are looking for in an ideal school. So the Wordle for the 3rd grade's ideal school is this. So straight off, you can see that books is by far the biggest word. This means that the majority of students wrote down books the most times, which as a teacher, of course, makes me very happy that they want more books. They do just love having those easily accessible to them. A couple of other things were good teachers, which makes sense. That's their world. That's what they're surrounded by, and so it's really important for them that they have good teachers. A couple of other things I thought were interesting were more math, more reading, more science, and then art was in there as well. And then respect was another big one, along with no bullying. So those are just a couple of things that I highlighted here. If you want to pause it and look at the rest of them, you can go right ahead, but I'm moving on. So for the GES Parents Ideal School, these were the results. Quite a bit different, obviously coming from a different perspective, of course. But the big one for parents was less homework, which I will talk about later as well. Couple of other bigger ones were preparing them for the world, building character, creating well-rounded students, socialization. Education was obviously a big one. A lot of people mentioned how family involvement was really important, and then communication was another big one. So the application for students, art was one of the big ones. That's something that can easily be done in any content area. And so I think that's something for teachers to think about, is how can you be doing art within the classroom, not just in art class, but how can you be doing it in science and reading, social studies, all of those different content areas. Another one was more reading. I think oftentimes we get so caught up in trying to get everything done throughout the day that we forget that students just need to sit and read and really enjoy reading. And they're going to learn a lot more maybe than we can teach them sometimes just by practicing reading and having that time to do that. The other one was more science. Kids love science. They love being able to work with it. It's very hands-on, discovering the world around them. And there again, you can incorporate math and reading easily into science. And so maybe not viewing those so separately, but combining all of the content areas as much as we can to make sure that the kids are getting appropriate amounts of science. I mean, if that's what they're interested in at this age, then by all means they need to be encouraged in that area. And then another big one was the no bullying and having respect, which we do constantly work on in schools, and I know most schools do as well, but it is a good reminder that this is something that kids do face every day, and is a challenge for them. So the application for the parents and staff members is a little more extensive. The big one obviously was less homework. So what does the research say? I did quite a bit of research on homework and its impact on elementary students. So there was a study done from 1987 to 2003 called Does Homework Improve Academic Achievement? And the study found that there was a strong correlation with students' grades in high school and homework, somewhat of a correlation in middle school, and no correlation between homework and students' grades in elementary school. But they did find that in elementary school there is a positive correlation between student homework and standardized tests. And another study done by the Indiana University School of Education in Bloomington found little correlation between time spent on homework and better course grades for math and science students, but a positive relationship between homework time and performance on standardized tests. So overall, on the elementary level, homework has not been found to impact course grades, but it has been found to positively impact standardized tests. That being said, standardized tests are not the most important thing in the world. Yes, they are important, and it does give teachers and parents good data as to where the students are at in relevance to others in their country and state. But overall, it is not the most important thing. So then I decided to look at the implications for maybe some other different implications for homework in the elementary school. So what's the purpose? If homework does not have any correlation with grades, why do so many schools still do it? Well, according to a study done by Gill and Schlossman in 1996, leading educational spokespersons have celebrated homework as essential to raise educational standards, foster high academic achievement, upgrade the quality of the labor force, and link family and school in a common teaching mission. So looking at maybe some other effects that homework has on students, researchers have also examined possible non-academic benefits of homework. So Como and Zhu in 2004 call homework the job of childhood. By examining taped sessions and interviews with parents and students, they discovered that homework helped third graders learn responsibility and develop time management and job management skills. The students also learned to work on schoolwork when they did not want to and adjust their attentiveness to the demands of a specific assignment. These and similar benefits, such as good study habits, independent learning, have been found by other researchers as well. Although not explicitly linked to achievement, it is logical to assume that these factors lead to improved achievement. And from my own personal opinion, based on the research that I have done, just developing those healthy habits of bringing work home, completing it, and bringing it back, regardless of the amount. Amount is a whole another issue. But just those healthy habits, if they can develop those at a young age, by the time they reach middle and high school, that will have huge impacts on their success. So all of this being said, how can the school support parents' concerns about homework? Parents should feel comfortable enough to talk to their student's teacher about concerns, but there also, I do feel like, needs to be some respect for the knowledge and expertise of the teacher. Teachers should be able to give a rationale for each homework assignment, explaining the purpose and how it is benefiting the student. So that same study done at Indiana School of Education also showed that homework should be purposeful and that the purpose must be understood by both the teacher and the students. In today's current educational environment, with all the activities taking up children's time both in school and out of school, the purpose of each homework assignment must be clear and targeted. With homework, more is not better. So right now at Gilton Elementary School, we are working on making all of our assignments, both in school and homework assignments, working on making them more in-depth and increasing the complexity of the work as opposed to increasing the amount of work. So parents will be happy to know that we are trying to make that shift right now. Parents should also be made aware of any resources that are available to help them with supporting their students' homework needs. For example, we have a homework club, which helps a lot of students out quite a bit. And then they should also be made aware of the research showing the benefits of homework. A lot of my ELL parents did mention that they struggle with helping their students with their homework. They want to help them, but just with the language barriers that are there, they're looking for ways to help. So something that Starfetter suggests is ensuring that children have a place where they can do their work without any interruptions, and also just checking to make sure that the students are doing their homework. because then the students, if they are confused on something, teachers should be made readily available to them to help them out. Another thing that parents can do is they can set up a meeting with the teacher, so the teacher can go over expectations and curriculum as needed. That does take time both on the teacher and the parents' part, but a lot of parents in the survey mentioned that they just didn't understand the curriculum. A lot of them don't understand the new way that we are doing Common Core math. So that's something where a teacher can sit down and explain that to the parent. And hopefully through that, then the parent can help support their student in what they need. A couple of other things that came up on the survey were character building. That was another big one. We do have a counseling time, but maybe something that would help parents out would be if the counselor could update parents on what they're going over, so parents can work with the students on those skills at home. And then for the teacher to consistently update the parents on students' behavior, whether positive or negative, just so the parents know that their character is being worked on. Communication was another big one that came up, whether it be through newsletters, communicating about behavior, but overall just having that open door idea and a mutual respect between parents and teachers, understanding that they are on the same side, trying to do what is best for the student. And then another huge one is just making sure that all materials are available in a student's native tongue. So again, Fenner suggested 2 different things. Investigating direct translation services. They said that a lot of districts have translation services already set up, so that's something that I will be looking into. And then translating documents into students' home language. I have used Google Translate before, but I know that it does not always translate it very well, so I could always do that and then ask somebody who does speak Spanish if it makes sense, and then see if maybe they can help me out with it. Or I would even be willing to petition for funding to get important documents translated. Yeah. Overall, I would highly recommend doing something similar to this at your school. By doing it, I was made aware of a school-wide concern with both ELL and non-ELL families and relevance to homework that I would not have been made aware of otherwise. The open-endedness of this question is a safe way for parents, students, and staff to express what they are looking for in an ideal school, and by doing so, it illuminates what that school might be lacking. So again, it's not a way for parents to complain, but when they do talk about what they're looking for in an ideal school, it kind of illuminates what your school might be missing. So I would definitely recommend doing something similar to this. Thank you for your time.